Welcome to the place. It is probably the smallest Jewish museum in the world. You can see for yourself how small it is. Just look around. And yet, we still find ways to stretch the space. Sometimes we can hardly believe it ourselves. But the founder of the place, Tomasz Wiśniewski, keeps coming up with incredible tricks here. We use every bit of space, filling it with keepsakes of the Jewish residents of Białystok and the region. For many visitors, the place feels like a patchwork. Since our opening in May 2023, more than 5,000 tourists from all over the world have come here. And indeed, that is what pre-war Białystok and the region were like: colorful patchwork, a multicultural mosaic in which Jews made up a large and rich part. Just before the Second World War, they accounted for 42% of Białystok's population. That was the highest proportion in the world among cities of over 100,000 people. And so it remained until the Second World War, when Europe entered the darkest time of the 20th century. The Nazis murdered most of Białystok's and Podlasia's Jews. Those who survived largely emigrated. Today in Białystok and the whole region, there is no Jewish community, no rabbi. The last Jewish funeral took place in 1965. But we want to remember the Jewish past. And that is why, as the Social Association of the Museum of the Jews of Białystok, we decided to open this place dedicated to them. And to invite you on a journey back in time, to when our Jewish brothers and sisters co-created the history of the city and the region. We remember them not only because they were our neighbors who lived alongside us for centuries, but also because of their extraordinary achievements on a global scale. Countless outstanding individuals came from Białystok: discoverers, artists, intellectuals, politicians. We present them in different ways, in some cases even through humorous portraits. Look up. Under the ceiling you will see a colorful gallery, painted in vibrant shades. This is just a handful of the many. Remember, Białystok was the birthplace not only of its most famous native, the creator of Esperanto, Ludwig Zamenhof, but also, for example, Albert Bruce Sabin, the inventor of the vaccine against the poliovirus, Heine-Medina disease. Others from here include Rabbi Shmuel Mochelever, regarded as one of the 7 founding fathers of Israel, Dr. Józef Kazanowicz, initiator of the National Library in Israel, Rosa Raisa, prima donna of the Chicago Opera, Chaim Zelik-Słonimski, the famous mathematician, astronomer and inventor, including of his own version of a calculating machine, and Samuel Pisar, eminent lawyer, advisor to US presidents, and stepfather of US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. Famous filmmakers were also born here, the Kaufman brothers. Boris won an Oscar for cinematography in Elia Kazan's On the Waterfront. His brothers, Denis and Mikhail, became renowned Soviet documentarians. The first, known as Dziga Vertov, as the director of The Legendary Man with the Movie Camera, the second as the cinematographer of that film. All 3 were sons of Białystok bookseller, Abel Kaufman. His books, bearing his shop's stamp, can also be found in our collection, in the exhibition of the stamps and books from pre-war Białystok libraries and bookshops, to the right of the entrance. At the Białystok Gymnasium studied Yitzhak Shamir, twice Prime Minister of Israel. In Białystok, Nahum Zemach began creating Habima, the first and most famous Jewish theatre performing in Hebrew, which after many wanderings settled in Tel Aviv, eventually becoming the National Theatre of Israel. Few people know that the town of Krasnosielsk in the 19th century within the Łomża district was the birthplace of the 4 Wonsal brothers, later known as Warner Brothers. They became the founders of one of the world's greatest film studios, Warner Brothers. In Wasilków near Białystok was born Nora Ney, star of Polish interwar cinema. From the small town of Sidra came the family of Paul Baran, creator of the concept of the Internet, and grandfather of American actress Gwyneth Paltrow was a rabbi in Nowogród. In the village of Łuby Kurki near Łomża was born Samuel Łebkowski, inventor of vitamin B6. And in Stawiski was born Akiba Rubinstein, world-famous chess player and multiple winner of international tournaments. The list could go on and on. In the place we tell the story of many distinguished Jews from Białystok and the region through various projects, including online. Their names are everywhere in our museum, on the walls, ceilings, even on the floor. Look at our memory plaques embedded there. On each, alongside the names in 2 languages, are QR codes with more information and short films dedicated to each of these individuals. But take note, on the memory plaques you will find not only Jewish names. Here we also remember some heroic Poles, Christians from the region, who saved their Jewish neighbors during the Holocaust. Among them Józef Bartoszko, caretaker of the Białystok synagogue, who, after the Germans locked several hundred Jews inside and set fire to the building, opened a side door and enabled several to escape, and Stanisław and Władysława Krysiewicz, a married couple from Waniewo, murdered by the Germans for sheltering 8 Jewish acquaintances on the farm for nearly a year. In the place we speak not only of eminent Jews connected with our region, we also remember the lesser known, yet equally important for our local history. We show their faces, their work, their keepsakes, their places and buildings, often already gone, such as factories or synagogues. Look at the wall to the left of the entrance, presenting Białystok's synagogues. Before the war, there were as many as 76 of them. Today, unfortunately, only 3 buildings remain. We show reconstructions of 15 of them. On the ceiling, we placed a replica of the ceiling of one of the 3 surviving synagogues, founded in 1936 by the Citron family. It is worth remembering that this was the last synagogue built in the pre-war Poland. The building still exists at 24A Waryński Street and serves as a gallery. On the same wall, behind the synagogue display, in window cases we show numerous keepsakes and documents from Jews of the region. Further along you will find an extensive list of names under the heading "Who do we have here?" On it we place the names of people appearing in our documents. Visitors can look for a name of interest, and thanks to our resource catalogue we can direct them to the part of the place where the related object is displayed. This is especially helpful when descendants of the Jews from this region arrive from abroad asking about their ancestors. More than 300 have already visited us. In the center of the hall, you will find a mobile exhibition with binders full of archival documents, maps, photographs and mini-galleries. These include shtetls, small towns around Białystok, predominantly populated by Jews, the history of the Białystok ghetto, and portraits of Jewish doctors of Białystok renowned before the war in Poland and abroad, most of whom perished during the Holocaust. They worked to the end, until the liquidation of the ghetto. On the wall directly opposite the entrance, you will see the only known large photograph from that time, assembled from 3 images taken from the fire tower. It shows a dramatic and particular moment in the history of the Białystok ghetto, the outbreak of the uprising. It is mid-August 1943. Smoke rises above the buildings. In the streets, unequal battles rage between the insurgents and the Nazis. The insurgents numbered 300, the opponents 10 times as many. The uprising broke out upon the news of the ghetto's final liquidation and was the second largest Jewish revolt after the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Most insurgents died, only a few survived, among them the legendary courier Haika Grossman, later a member of the Israeli Knesset. On the same wall you will see another unique photograph showing the gate of the Białystok ghetto. It stood barely 200 meters from the place where you are now. Beneath the large format photographs of the ghetto you will find another gallery of Judaica. What do we have here? Many people ask about the chair under the ceiling. Each year we place that empty chair draped with a shirt bearing the word Białystoker, in Yiddish from Białystok, at the Białystok monument to the ghetto defenders, empty as a symbol of the absence of Białystok's Jews. At the back of the hall we dedicated an entire wall to one of Białystok's pre-war Jewish schools, the Tarbut, General Vocational School with Hebrew as the language of instruction. Looking out from it are the students and teachers, photographed at a time when no one could have imagined that within a few years the Jewish community of Białystok would cease to exist. We do not know what happened to most of the students and teachers in the pictures. Probably only a few survived. The beautiful building of the school remained. In 2020, to honor the memory of the school community and all Jews of Białystok and the region, we organized a 2-day cultural festival under the symbolic title The Absent Family. One such Białystok absent family, almost entirely wiped out in the Holocaust, is the Kaplan family. We devote to them an installation, 5 figures in blue clothes, created by the Podlasie artist Stanisław Żywolewski, on the wall to the right of the entrance. The father of the family, Pesach Kaplan, was one of the most important figures of pre-war Białystok's cultural world. He wrote articles, translated, composed, and as an editor-in-chief ran Yiddish-language Jewish dailies Das Neue Leben and, later, Unser Leben. In the ghetto he organized education. He worked until the very end. To save from oblivion the absent families and the entire Jewish community requires the work and passion of many people. Raise your heads and look at the names scattered under the ceiling. People dedicated to preserving the Jewish heritage of Białystok and the region. There are many of them, united by a common passion. We honor them here as the gardeners of memory. In the second tiny hall you can see more keepsakes and photographs, and watch short films. In this room we commemorate the tragedy of the burning of the Great Synagogue, which took place on the first day of the Germans' entry into Białystok. On 27th of June 1941, the Germans locked between 700 and 800 Jews inside, dragged them from homes and streets. Among them the well-known pre-war doctor Samuel Kracowski, and then set the building alight. That day part of the Jewish quarter also burned down. Over 1,000 people were shot, and so began the first act of the destruction of Białystok's Jews, nearly half the city's inhabitants. The exhibition shows dramatic photos of the collapsed synagogue taken by the German perpetrators. But we also show photographs of the temple in its splendor. If you look up, you will see a suspended, upside-down model of the Great Synagogue. And in the corner you will find a plaque with the name of the synagogue caretaker, already mentioned, Józef Bartoszko, who tried to save those locked inside the burning synagogue. A square in Białystok was recently named after him. As an association, we published his story in the form of a comic book. In this room we also recall the chief rabbi of Białystok, Gedali Rosenman, a Polish patriot. He initiated the singing of the Polish anthem in synagogues and worked to build Polish-Jewish relations based on mutual respect and tolerance. He died in 1943. To the right of the entrance in this hall, we exhibit advertisements and business cards of pre-war Jewish firms, just a small selection of the many services and businesses that operated in Białystok before the war. Here also is an extraordinary wooden chest found in a house in Mieleszki, near Gródek. The inside of the lid was lined with Hebrew theatre posters, inviting to a performance of Tevye the Dairyman by Sholem Aleichem, as well as pre-war sweet wrappers from a Jewish confectionery firm in Gródek. This inspired us to reproduce the recipe. Thus was created a sweet keepsake of Schwarzberg's confectionery factory and of a world that is no more. Upon leaving this hall, in the vestibule, look up and ahead. Above the door you will find, for example, a fragment of a graphic story about the outcasts, children thrown by parents from trains going to Treblinka in the hope they would survive. On the walls hang suitcases, the Białystok drawers of memory, in which we display keepsakes of well-known Białystok Jews. Anyone who feels a bond with a chosen figure can become a guardian of a drawer. Also look at the vestibule ceiling, where in an unusual way we bring back the memory of the wooden synagogues of pre-war Białystok province. In the center we hang an inverted model of the Zabłudów synagogue, a beautiful 17th century jewel of wooden architecture, famous for its unique design, burned down by the Germans in 1941. Around it are 10 models of other wooden synagogues from the region. None survived the Holocaust. In the vestibule display cases, we show a gallery of the smallest Jewish artifacts, including the Pruta from Tykocin. What is it? It's a unique alms coin that 100 or 200 years ago Jews of Tykocin, mindful of the duty of charity, gave to the poor and beggars. As you can see, we tell the history of our Jewish neighbors, both before and during the Holocaust, in dozens of different ways, through exhibitions and projects. Here every fragment of space, even the restroom, is used for a unique story. You just need to look around. We have large format presentations and tiny ones. We have small archives in suitcases, in cleverly used display cases, on doors, ceilings and in windows. In the place so very small, we even have 2 cinemas. One is in the main hall, where we organize screenings for large groups. The other, sitting a few people, is in the smaller hall, where in a very intimate atmosphere you can watch a dozen thematic films in Polish with English subtitles. Next to most artifacts, we place a QR code or website address leading to more information if you are curious. And if you have a question, it's always worth asking the volunteer on duty in the gallery. We invite you to visit our website and Facebook page, where we inform about our projects and interesting meetings: www.jewishbiałystok.pl. The museum can be visited free of charge. We operate as a social association, relying solely on donations, contributions and grants. That is why we would be very grateful if you choose to support us with however small donation. And as you leave the place, take a look at the photograph we placed on the door. Look into the eyes of Ben Midler, now 97 years old, who survived the Białystok ghetto and 6 concentration camps, lost everything, yet not his passion for life. Life is so interesting after all, says Ben to everyone. In the photo is accompanied by Marta Sawicka-Danielak, who wrote a book about him, The Last Białystoker. Both were our guests in 2023, during the 80th anniversary commemorations of the Białystok Ghetto Uprising, to which Ben came specially from California. Let us remember what Ben says. But above all, let us not forget.